had informal mission orientation the whole 4 years, but to get a collective group of people who would come and listen to me talk about the mission 3 times this month, next month, and in November, I was very excited. I learned at a meeting with Dr. Huber that it could be something that I required, that anybody starting from June 1st on would be required to come to these 3 sessions, and hopefully our goal would be to integrate the mission into the college. Integrate the mission into the college means that, in fact, you'd know what the mission is, where it came from, and why we continue to serve the mission. The greater issue has started to make sense for me since the sisters would like to know if our students employee know the mission. So I am working hard at, if you've been with me at all in any way, you've heard about the mission, because I've made it my life goal, and you can see by my gray hair, I probably had many life goals over my time. Here is something that I'd like you to look at with me. Everybody should be able to have one. My name is Sister Pam Donelan, and I'm the Executive Director of Mission. More people are rolling in. This is going to be very exciting. Jill Young and Victor.
Here comes Ryan.
And Ryan?
Yep.
And you're Dylan, right?
Dalton.
Dalton, sorry. My email address is just like everybody else's, only it's got my name instead of yours. And then the office number is right there. And Stacy Bauer answers my telephone, because if you leave a message, did everybody get one of these? Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah. You said no.
Oh, yeah, sorry, sorry.
And then office hours are 9 to 6 Monday through Friday. The reason I start at 6 and start at 9, go to 6 is because it's a retirement job. You choose my hours. This mission orientation will consist of 3 sessions, 1 each month, and it will be ongoing. So let's say something happens and you're not able to come in the next month, then you come 2 more times. Just keep coming. And I'll send all the dates out so you know when to come. Dr. Huber wants you to fulfill 3. I use her name so that you know that this is something that's important to the whole piece of the college. The mission orientation will be 45-minute sessions. Each participant is required to attend. The president or vice president must notify Sister Pam of your excused absence. So you can't just call Stacy Bauer and say, tell Sister Pam I won't be there today. You have to have your dean let me know, or in my case, Dr. Huber would have to excuse me. Today, I want to give you a heads up that today, in about 15 minutes, you will be either on your computer or turning this piece of paper over and looking at your own mission statement. I want you to know 2 things about it. No one will look at it but you, and you don't have to ever talk about it. You don't have to share it with the group. So those are the scary things, right? If I have to turn it in, that's scary. If I have to talk about it, that's scary. There will be an opening that says if anybody would like to, you are invited to, but nobody has to. Because the reason I wanted to put that there is I don't want you thinking for the next 10 minutes about what am I going to say, what am I going to say. I want you to just be free to listen to this goal. Where did this mission come from? Where did this idea that there'd be a college and the college would have this mission, how did that ever come about? And I would like to answer it for you by using the homegrown method of pictures and statues. The mission starts with Jesus, our Good Shepherd. Jesus, our Good Shepherd, had 4 apostles and many people in the Acts of Apostles write many stories and parables. And in fact, it's been created that there were miracles. So this Jesus had 2 goals, to teach and to heal. To teach the Christians that were following him how to treat other people and to heal those around him by performing miracles, or the people became healed. And we have many accounts of it. You can probably, if I were to stop talking, you would probably quickly think of, oh yeah, they did lower this guy into the house and he was healed. And that's one of my very favorite stories because it's so important to me to know that your companions sometimes take you to Jesus for your healing or your teaching. Now, Jesus was very influential for many, many thousand years and still is in the life of Presentation College. And we have a variety of rituals each week where we celebrate the fact that we are Christians and dedicated to Jesus and God. The next piece that you'll learn from where did our mission come from is that Jesus had followers. And in the 1700s, a woman named Nano Nagle, and there are a variety of pictures of Nano. There are many. There's the young Nano. This Nano was found in a home, and they actually think this is Nano. It's still being disputed. Nano was from a family whose father was a merchant. And he was able to make monies by selling products and bringing products into Ireland. Ireland. That's as important to the Presentation Sisters as Nano. When the Presentation Sisters began, Nano was a young woman. And she was returning from a party where she witnessed the Irish people, very poor, waiting for the church to open so they could go to Mass. And it was about the time that she got into her teens. And into her 20s, she realized that the penal laws had come to Ireland. Now, what does that mean? It means the British government wanted the Irish people to worship their king instead of their God. And the Irish people would not do that. So they were denied food, land, jobs, health care, education. And Nano saw that they were being denied this kind of life, the quality of this kind of life at the basics of the hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy. No place to live, nothing to eat. And there are tremendous, tremendous stories around the way the Irish people were treated. You know, I believe them, and I don't think they're legendary, but they weren't allowed to have Mass. They weren't allowed to have Catholic Mass. So they created along rivers, the sound of the river running, and down into kind of a valley. They created what they called Mass rocks. In other words, you climbed down rocks and sat by water, and the priest would celebrate Mass. Now, this was in the 1700s, so we're not practicing that anymore today. If the British were coming, they had lookout people who would stand on the side of the road, let the people through echoing down, the British are coming, and then they would either stop the Mass and have a picnic, or in this case, a beggar was sitting there. And the beggar said, "Father, I will put on your vestments and you can put on my beggar's clothes." The story ends with that when the British got down to the Mass rock, the beggar or the priest was killed. The beggar was wearing the priest's vestments, so the English, to prevent the Masses from being held, was shot. This kind of thing that Nano was living in, she could not contain. She just couldn't. So she started two things, education and health care. Now, she wasn't a nurse, so she started taking her lantern out at night and going to those people who were ill or alone or aging and just witnessing to their health, giving them food if they didn't have food, better housing, better living conditions. People ask us, Jesus started this whole teaching and healing mission. Nano carried it on. And it's so important that we do that now. And that's why I wanted to talk so much to you about the mission. The mission isn't this statement. The mission is your carrying out this statement. If this mission isn't alive at Presentation College today for our students and for each other, there's probably something missing. And I wouldn't want that to be something that we, didn't look into. Why would that be missing from our organization? Now, Nano carried on her life, and 3 or 4 women, it's counted for 3, joined her before she died. She had named her community something of the Sacred Heart, but the church, the Catholic Church, wanted to know what day did she favor most in her life. And she favored the story of Jacob and Anna taking their young daughter, and this is not the young daughter, this is the older daughter, taking their young daughter to the church, and she gave her life as a young person to God. So the church said, that's what Nano's done. She's given her life to God and to the church. So we'll call her order the Presentation Sisters, because this is the presentation of Mary in the temple. All right, let's review. Jesus had a teaching and healing ministry. Mary was the mother of Jesus, and a young woman named Mary dedicated herself to God. So the church, the Catholic Church, because November 21st was an important day, call us the Presentation Sisters. Is that about as clear as a rock? Got it? So if someone in that you're socializing with and say, where do you work? Presentation College, why do they call it that? You say, it's got something to do with Mary and Jesus. That's a good answer. That'll be close enough for now. This is your first session. At the end but I just want the basic understanding that this is all based on thousands of years and hundreds of years. And now, next time we meet, we actually will get up and go see the history of the Presentation Sisters in South Dakota, so that you have a sense of all of this took place either, in Jesus' life or Nano's life, Mary's life. When did this get here? At what point did we decide, the Presentation Sisters of Aberdeen, South Dakota, to have a college where teaching takes place? And why do we have teaching be part of the Presentation Sister ministry? Because Jesus did, Mary did, Nano did. So I actually don't need a slideshow to show you this. I just want it to be in your heart as much as in your mind. Being part of Presentation College is as much of a heartfelt feeling as it is a head kind of interaction. Now, if we were to, either on your computer or on the back of this paper, ask you just for a few minutes to make this, if you started out your own mission statement, so in your computer or on the back of your paper, do you have a paper, Jan? She gave you hers. Do we have any extra? Down there. Everybody know Jan?
Sorry, I'm late.
That's all right.
Hi, Jen.
Yeah. Jan and I worked at Avera together. And it was second to the best job I'd ever had. Actually, it was. I had been the dean of students. Now this is an aside, so it has nothing to do with mission. Step over here. We're on the outside of the. Yeah, I had been the dean of students for 13 years, and I actually don't think anybody liked me. But I went over to St. Luke's, and people were like very friendly to me and nice to me. I thought, this is a very suspicious environment. What's going on here? Now I'm back at mission. Let's say that you're a Christian, or you have a belief system. So that would probably take you back to the value system of, do you want to hand Mr. Christensen my pen? Thank you. That would probably take you back to the beginning of your missions. Where do you start with your values? Where does that start in you? Is there and remember, you're not going to share this with anybody, and you're not going to hand it in to anybody. You're just going to think for a few minutes. Then is there somebody in your life that has been an inspiration? You know, for me, Nano wasn't my inspiration. The Presentation Sisters, when I went to college here, I saw them. I saw the way they were, the work that they were doing, how they were doing it, with what values, and I thought, that's what I want to do. So is there something in your life that was an inspiration? Now my theater inspiration comes from a whole different, I count Jesus with my value system, Presentation Sisters for directing me. When I got here, I can remember them saying, let's do this with you. And I only was here 2 years. And then I went on to get my 4-year degree. So they really did catch my mind. I want to do that. Was there anybody in your life that you witnessed that you said, I want to do that? I want to do that. And then maybe the group that you joined, or the family you're part of, or the group that gives witness to what you thought would be a way to spend your life has a name, like my group, Presentation Sisters. And not only do the Presentation Sisters live their life together, they actually formed a group that is global now, but I'll talk about that another time. Is this all making sense? Mm-hmm. It comes from our identifying so strongly with something. Now, over the last 3 or 4 years, I've learned this, and it was a good learning for me because I didn't know exactly how to picture it. I'm not asking you to make this lifelong commitment that I've made to the Presentation Sisters or to Presentation College. I'm asking you for the time you're here to make a commitment to this mission. Let's say you're here 6 months, a year, 4 months, whatever you're here, years. How will you become committed to this mission? Now, Diane has spent more time with me probably than anybody in this room. And so she says, well, I didn't have any choice. You talk about it all the time. I'm committed now. But I still believe that if we can get a group of us who really know the mission and are committed to the mission and believe that we can live the mission in our jobs, in our lives of jobs. I've also had to learn that you have lives beyond this. And those lives are very, very important, and you do have to live around those lives. Your mission is part of your job, but it's not the whole of your job. All right, so I'm going to quit talking for just a few minutes and let you just reflect on. My question to you is, 2 questions now we've got in the room. One is, where did this come from? And 2, do you have a personal mission that began the way the college mission began? It's something inspiring you, somebody that has given you confidence to carry on what you're doing. Now, those of you who are super young, you might not yet have had that, but you might have a coach in your life, a teacher, advisor. Lots of people have grandparents and parents. Some people have spouses. I'll just be quiet for a few minutes. says that the first thing we wanted to do today is to get a clearer understanding of the term mission and examine how persons at Presentation College is responsible and accountable for mission integration. Now let's just look at the two words that we have that we need to define then. If we're going to get that clearer, we have to know what we're talking about. I think what we can assume by looking at the pictures and looking at the statues is that mission is something that invites us to action. Now I could have brought the Webster's Dictionary definition of mission, but that isn't how it happened in my life. Or maybe it didn't happen that way in your life. It wasn't a definition. It was something that you thought, I want to be part of that. I want to make a difference. And it became so important to you, and you all know this, that you either practiced it over and over until you could accomplish it, or you studied it, or you in some way applied it to your life over and over and over. I often say that, you don't start with a play, and you're learning now that I have a theater background, by just telling the actors go on the stage and start performing. You start by reading the playbook. So that's where you probably started, by reading something that said, this is inspirational. I'd like to be part of that. And if we look at what's going to guide us to be part of that, we have core values now at Presentation College that say this is how we'll do this. And we'll talk about that as we get closer to the end of this time today. Now, mission integration means that you take the mission and you pour it like you have an imaginary bucket, and you pour the mission whole thing over your head, and it comes down through you, and you say, I'm going to start acting that way. Now, what would the actions look like? Well, you'd be friendly, because our mission statement says, welcoming people of all faith. So the culture of presentation might be to pass each other in the hall and not say hello, but it doesn't have to be. We could all say hello. Well, I've had people say back, well, they don't answer me. Okay. Now, I'll tell, Dre wouldn't answer me. That's Dre over there in the green. So I started this thing with her. Now she can't help but answer, because I won't leave. And the elevator opens and I step off and there's a kid standing there and go, ha ha. But I also speak to them. So welcoming, being friendly. Now, it's my habit, and I hope someday it'll be the habit of all of us, that if someone can't find something, I don't say, go to the welcoming center with no name on it, cross the street, take a left, then take a right, and then you'll see a building, and we call it the dome, and there isn't anything up. I say, I'll take you there. Come with me, I'll take you where you need to go. Now that, you might be late for something, and your only answer to that is I was practicing mission. Sister Pam asked us to walk people. We used to get many, many, many people came into the convent door when I worked with the convent side. And I asked all of our employees, please walk them to where they want to go. You just don't say the college is over there. If they're new and coming in the wrong door, they obviously don't know where to go. So I'm asking two things with the welcome. That you stand and say, I can help you get there. And that you say hello. I don't ever expect, and hardly anybody does this to me, says, what do you want? Well, that would go over very poorly with me. I'd like you to practice the mission, please. So, and I've noticed that in all of you. Somehow you pick that spirit up. The sisters are like that. So if you meet them. Then we develop people here, and that's not always easy. You have to have boundaries for development. You can only go this far. You can't say you can do everything, And I noticed that when I taught the college experience class. They had time that they got their work in, or it was no longer acceptable. We have behaviors in the student life that if you don't act in those certain ways, it's not acceptable. So, I'm not saying in developing just anything can happen and you let anything go. And then you have to challenge people. You have to challenge each other, and you have to challenge our students. I think Ryan's our only student, isn't he? Dalton, did you go to school here? Where did you go?
Manhattan Christian College.
Manhattan Christian College. In New York?
Nope, Kansas.
Oh, Kansas.
I get that a lot.
Do you? It's kind of a good opener, isn't it?
Yeah, when I got recruited there, I actually thought it was Manhattan, New York, and the coach was like, no, you're coming to Kansas. All right.
And what did you go there to play? What sport?
Basketball.
And was it 80% athletic like ours is here at Presentation?
You know, being a student and an athlete there, I didn't really focus on that, so I don't have an answer. I don't know. I just was there to do my work and play ball. I didn't try and get caught up into the details.
And what did you major in?
Biblical leadership.
What do you think of that? That's something, isn't it? Biblical leadership. Maybe that's what I'll teach. What do you think of that, Stephanie?
I think he and John could have great conversation.
Well, I know John's coming. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And Jonathan, the tech guy, Jonathan Wall, is that his name? He is has some background in a Christian school where he studied the Bible. Excellent.
I was thinking John Anderson, but
He does too.
John Anderson, he teaches online our religious courses. So
Right.
he's
Every-
writing a book right now about that.
And everybody knows Stephanie Hansen?
Right, Stephanie.
Did you, Janelle, know Stephanie Hansen?
Oh, nice to meet you.
Anybody else that wants to wave to say?
I have had conversations on email with you.
Are you, what's your last name?
Patterson.
Ah,
I'm the one that doesn't know anything about
she
that.
does exist.
Awesome.
Are you teaching?
Yes.
I'm just doing some adjunct stuff for nursing, yeah.
Yeah.
A little.
Good, good. Yeah, Jan has a unique, she's a twin, and her sister's name is Jan too.
Actually, I'm Janice and she's Janet, but everybody calls me Jan, so.
So you have
That's parental.
We'd have to have pictures. This is Janice, this is Janet.
Just call him Jan.
And then her other name to fame is she is Angela's mother, Angela Schwan. So she's been around. How long were you at Bear St. Luke's?
Oh, 32, 33 years.
32 or 33 years. And how many times have you had mission orientation?
I loved missionary, I love mission.
Yeah.
When we did it at St.
Right, right. So let's look at the mission again. Anybody want to say anything about what they wrote? I didn't give you a chance. I got taken up with acting. How about the biblical scholar?
No pressure.
No pressure.
All right.
Oh, all right.
So my personal mission is to positively impact the people around me, to live to the calling Jesus Christ has for my life, to apply the Bible and His words to my life, and show Christ in all actions to those around me.
Ooh. Okay, well, you'll take, Nana will welcome you well into her group. She will love that. You will be a presentation person very soon, as all of you will. You know, with this, no, that isn't time. I'll talk to you about what are we going to do when there's no more presentation sisters. And we were asked that many, many years ago, and we've been planning for that day for many, many years. And we're transforming to that day right now. And part of that transformation is for those of you who are in our ministries to know something about who we were and what kind of people you met when you met a presentation person or a sister. After you read the mission statement, welcoming, developing, and challenging, you'll see that there's 5 core values. Now those core values are values that are to be lived out. The first one is Catholic tradition, and when this was established, I talked to Dr. Huber about it quite a bit. It really basically boils down to faith and reason. You know, faith can take us so far, or reason can take us so far, and then we have to turn to our faith. You know, I know that there are people I love whose lives are going to end. And that's very hard for me to accept rationally. Why can't we live forever? And I kind of think I believe people will, and then they don't. So faith takes me into knowing there's an afterlife. Have I ever seen an afterlife? No, I've never had an experience of the light at the end of the tunnel or having been taken out of my body. But I believe there's an afterlife. It's faith. When we have Catholic tradition here 3 years ago, we had the St. John's Bible from St. John's University, one of its copies come here. And we had the opportunity to spend Monday morning reflection. We called it St. John's Bible at that time, praying from that Bible. And it did a great deal for our deepening scripture as Catholics, because lots of you have deeper scripture educations and experience sometimes than Catholics do. And hopefully that's starting to change in our teachings. That deepening our lives through scripture was really, really a powerful experience. Last year, a year after that, we had learning community, and that I really liked what the mission committee did with that. They talked about what all of you do in your department and what you learn from teaching and serving as staff members in administration, and what you hope your students learn. As a learning community, we continue to learn. And it was a big step for me to come from the sisters after being there 16 years and working in their administration to step into higher ed as it is today. There's lots to learn, lots to learn. I still am learning. This year we're looking at whole person education. We looked last year too through volunteerism. We had our students volunteer as much as possible. But this year we're going to look at the 7 core values. And I put those on your papers so that you, on this paper that I handed out, so that you know when I'm talking about whole person education, what I'm talking about. Our first outcome was to understand the term mission and examine how persons at Presentation College can integrate, be responsible and accountable for mission integration. You can be accountable for mission integration the way Dalton described it. That'll pretty much take you into that expression of our mission. And you can say, how am I practicing the core values? How am I growing in whole person education? How am I seeing that the people around me are growing in whole person education? How am I becoming more spiritual, more physical in terms of living a good physical life? There are people who believe our sports are doing that for those 80% of our students who are in athletics. They're living very good physical lives. Hopefully they're practicing their diets, their balance of sleep, they're taking care of themselves, health, not. However, I think it's important that as adults we look into that. And it can't be perfect. Whole person can't be perfect. But we're really going to spend time with it this year, looking at whole person education. So the mission came from Jesus to Nano, who believes strongly in serving and giving back, to the name that we are called Presentation Sisters, and the sisters named their college after themselves, Presentation College, because they were only educating presentation women, only educating sisters when it started. But now we're, as you know, we're educating many, many people from many, many places. You know, another piece that the sisters practice often is social justice. I'll give you an example. We have a group called Pax Christi, Peace of Christ, and Pax Christi is held every month, and the sisters invite anybody who'd like to participate. We always focus on one particular thing for the meetings, and last meeting was on the trafficking of women. Now, you know, some of these social justice issues become political. You know, these women wouldn't be trafficked if they did such and such, or they wouldn't be this if they were that. But, I have an expression that says, quit thinking about the life you wish you had and deal with the one you have. So I am saying to you that the sisters want to help. They don't actually question the person's reasons. Why did this happen to you? You did live differently. You wouldn't be in this situation. Now, I marvel in this, in the sisters' social justice efforts, because we do wonder that. How can we stop this from happening to people? How do we go to the top and say, that's enough? We're not going to allow this. And the sisters will get their names connected with things. Right now, we're connected with the Somalian group in town, and it's become the diversity committee. But it used to be the meetings that were held at the presentation convent. That's a justice issue. And we actually haven't brought that into the college much because it can become a political issue. Certain people are poor because they don't work. Other people are carrying guns and shooting people. So if we start talking about it politically, it might not lead us to where the sisters are hoping to go. But when I wrote here, distinction between mission and social justice, I meant social justice. The things that are being done by the sisters today to live out their mission, to help those who need extra service. It would probably take place at Presentation College if you were to someone who is being trafficked, surfaced here. And she found refuge at the college, and she sought one of you out to tell. I'm being threatened. I'm not safe. Can you help me? You can ask the college for help, but definitely you will know that sisters will be helping you if it all has to be confidential. It's a very complex culture we live in and society. So when you hear that sisters stand for certain things and you think they don't have the whole picture, that's why they don't know the Somalians carry guns and shoot each other and shoot us. Not be true. They haven't shot any sisters yet, and they might. I don't know, but that's not ours to question. Ours is to serve and to do the best we can. Now, are we allowing people who are breaking the law? No. That's not the sisters. We're helping those people who come and say, I need help. It's like the beggars at the door. They can come to our service entrance, knock on the door, and get a meal every day. So the sisters are right across the street, carrying on their social justice efforts. We will carry on the justice efforts to anyone who has asked for service here. And someday, we were talking in the faculty meeting about, someone who comes in and shoots. And we can no longer believe that won't happen here. No. What exactly we'll do at the time, some people say there'll be chaos and we won't know what to do. Other people are making plans on their own because they don't think the plan that they have will work. Those are the kinds of things that our culture is going to ask us. And we do believe that someday a man or woman or child, or the whole group, will surface at the college for help. Because they will, if we modeled our mission and the welcoming, developing, and challenging them, where else would you go? To the other churches in town. But what if you wanted to be educated? I admire the San Francisco Presentation Sisters so much because once the prostitutes in San Francisco are arrested, taken to jail, the sisters are the first responders to saying, we will take you from here to our place and you can live with us and become educated enough to go to a college. But you have to stay with us. You have to be part of our lives. It saves people's lives, changes their lives. Anybody else want to talk about the mission for a while? I'm just getting started. Thank God we have to stop at a certain time. Anything you'd like me to do differently? You want to talk more, me less? You want more time to reflect? Just some quiet time, away from your jobs, away from all you're responsible for and to do. I think I heard Chris say one day, Dr. Chris Donelan, he doesn't have time to pray. There is just, everything is so fast in this place. You want to hear from other sisters? Sometimes people like to hear the life experiences of sisters, to hear how they lived out their mission. They don't know yet, huh?
That'd be interesting.
I do too. Yeah, I think that life experience is really good. And they really like to do it, so. All right, we're done for today. I will let you know, I'm trying to use